Hello, Sharif here. And today I have a cold. It's nothing like a nice summer cold to bring your spirits down. Um, I will, I'm not going to do the meditation today for two reasons. Number one, you don't want to hear me for 5 minutes snorting and coughing and wheezing, etc. And then number two, I didn't sleep last night because I was coughing and wheezing and snorting and all this other sort of stuff. So of course, right now I'm getting sleepy, and but we'll get through the next half hour together. Um, I want to and I'm not sure how important the meditation time is for those of us who are uh, um, live on the call, and for those of us who are doing this by recording. So we'll see. Maybe this is something that we'll put into another time bracket. Um, Also, some of you have already found out that the my book launch, excuse me. Uh, if I have to sneeze, I'll try not to sneeze in your direction. Um, that the book launch had a bug in it, and I've been trying to debug it. I've got a workaround in it right now, and I think that that will work. But I really would like for it to work the way that it's supposed to work. Thanks for those of you who told me that I had a bug, and hopefully you are working towards seeing that the book is going to get your way. I want to talk a little bit more about the book. Uh, it's interesting once it's done, I can think about it in a different way. I can actually see it as a book and not as its constituent parts, like chapter one, chapter two. What am I going to do with this page? So after you finish chewing on that for a few years, um, I'm taking a further back view. I'm looking at this another way. Um, and and this might be the first book where I don't fully understand what I wrote. Um, I've said this about a number of other authors, that I read their book and I get one impression from them. And then I talk to them and I realize what I got from the book, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Um, the person who was most um, who's closest to that was the Daniel Quinn, the author of the book Ishmael and all of the Ishmael subsequent writings. And I thought that Ishmael was an amazing book, and a truly when you talk about paradigm shifting, that book shifted a lot of my paradigms. And then when I talked to Quinn, it's almost like he didn't read his book. It was a very different kind of experience. Um, and so I'm thinking about that now because um, I realized when I titled "Creating a World That Works for All" that was a very powerful statement. It's a very powerful idea. It's a very infectious idea. Um, the nation of Gaia is growing on me. So, what I thought about in terms of the nation of Gaia even 3 weeks ago is different from what I'm thinking right now. It's like, did I understand it 3 weeks ago when I wrote it? Am I going to have to go back and reread part three of the book? That would be really interesting, and maybe I'll actually write a review of my own book and see how that plays out. Um, okay, there'll be other musings and thoughts on the book in the near future, but I think that it's going to be important to actually get the book in people's hands, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so today we're talking about intention, and the intention. Hold on. The intention to create a world that works for all living beings. The intention to birth a new nation on our planet, a nation that will comprise the entire planet. We've had these, kind of grand, lofty ideas that float around in the soup of ideas, and then we kind of forget about them because we get wrapped up in our day-to-day work, play, TV, whatever else we do to entertain ourselves. So our challenge is, how do we take the lofty ideas and bring them into um, some level of coherence with each other, with how we're living our lives. Um, I think about that because um, I get invited to speak at various groups. It's like I want to go ahead and sneeze and get over it, get over it, be done with it, but it's not coming. Um, I'll take another sip of my. I'm drinking ginger herbal tea, which is mixed with Chinese herbs, and I bought all that in Mexico. So this is my international tea here. So getting setting setting an intention to act means getting larger than where we are right now. Okay. Um, Getting over the reluctance to act. So I've got my button on, and I have my button on as just about every day. So once in a while I forget. Um, but I'm always looking for the next thing that we can do that will bring about a world that works for all, bring about the nation of Gaia. So it's not enough for you just to think about this is a good idea. You've got to talk about it. You've got to say it. Make it a point to say, the Nation of Gaia twice a day, 3 times a day. You've got to do more than just say it. Once you get comfortable in saying it, you've got to act on it. You've got to talk about it with, first of all, your friends, family, supporters, etc. And for a lot of you, stop right there. I'm not going to talk about this because my family's crazy, etc. Well, the whole world's crazy. So start with your family. Start with the people that you know want to support you. But then you have to go beyond that. We have the notion that when we talk about the world, we're basically talking about people who look and act like me. When we're talking about the world, we're talking about people who have the same demographics, the same point of view that I have. What you have to do is cross the line and have conversations with people who are not like you. Now, there are people who claim to do that. And when they start the conversation, they go to the hottest of their hot button issues. They'll see somebody and say, "Oh, I see you have a gun rack in your car." Well, I'm against the guns, and I think the Second Amendment should be abolished. And it's like, yeah, go right to the fight. Okay. And we have to develop a different conversation with people. This is how I manage to talk to as many different people as I do, because I can start the conversation based on something that they are interested in, something that will elicit a conversation and not a fight. It's more important for us to have an initial conversation than anything else. We need to know that we are human beings together, and that supersedes everything. Now, if the person goes to their hot button issues, ignore it for right now. Get to the point where you can start talking about what your common issues would be. So the first thing is getting your intention out into the world. Second is doing this with friends, neighbors, supporters, family. Then stepping into the unknown, the people who you don't know if they're friends, neighbors, or family. And then finally getting to the other, the person that would see you as other. Now, all of this is what I call a practice. You're practicing inclusivity, not just talking about it, not just theorizing about it. I write books on inclusivity, but I also practice it when I walk down the street. I write books on practicing wisdom, learning how to be in relationship with people is the seedbed of wisdom. We don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to interact with each other. It's time that we get smart about relationships. And I write books on how to engage with the other, not just talking about it on a theoretical level, but actually getting to the point where you can have that level of engagement. Um, as as many of you know, I tell a lot of stories, and working with a story and being able to tell it in such a way that the person I'm talking to can hear it. Now, this is um, kind of tricky because I may tell the same story 2 or 3 different ways depending on the person who's in front of me right now. If they don't have an experience of traveling in the world, then it doesn't do a whole lot of good for me talking about, oh yes, in the culture of so and so on the island of such and such, and they're like, what? What are you talking about? So I don't drop that unless in some way that's going to get their attention to have the larger conversation, etc. So I have to feel my way into that. I have to feel my way through that. Okay. So we're every time I stop, the sneeze stops. I think as soon as we get off this call, I'll probably sneeze 20 times in a row. Okay. Um, so we're practicing inclusivity. We're practicing wisdom. We're practicing engaging the other. And now we're practicing the nation of Gaia. If we're going to have a nation, and that nation is going to have 8 billion people in it, and that nation is going to span the entire globe, and that nation is going to speak something like 7,000 different languages. And that nation will have sub-nations in it. A sub-nation being, let's say, United States, or a sub-nation being, Kenya or whatever. Once we get to that point where we're seeing the whole, and then we can start seeing the parts of the whole, then we'll be able to make some progress. In the nation of Gaia, I don't think that we are going to homogenize down to some common gray English speaking monoculture. I sincerely hope not. I don't think when we start looking at the colonies of ants, are thousands and thousands of colonies of ants. There's thousands of ants. And then species has its own colonies throughout the entire planet. Ants as colony beings have occupied the entire planet peacefully. Humans have occupied the entire planet, and we're constantly at war with each other, with ourselves and with each other. Not the way to occupy a planet. So let me say this, and maybe I'm going to end a few minutes early here so that I can finally sneeze. Um, in order to do this, as a practice, you need three things. I call it the three Ds, and I've been talking about this for years. You need devotion, you need direction, and you need discipline. Now, you'll remember me talking about putting the pressure on on your jugular vein or somebody else's jugular vein, and within um, a short period of time, within a minute, they'll start feeling lightheaded. Within 2 minutes, they're going to pass out. Within 4 minutes, they're going to be dead. Okay. Now, if your um, intention isn't to kill them, don't do this. Um, if we don't know where to press, if we don't know how to press, we won't achieve whatever the goal is that we're trying to achieve. So we're learning together how to create this new society. I want to refer us back to 1776 and Philadelphia, and a group of people who got into a room and created a nation. Now, they didn't know what they were creating. No one had practiced real democracy. Um, we talk about the golden age of Greece and that being the first democratic society, I beg to differ. When you start looking at the number of people who were kept out of the society, um, this is, practicing democracy with an elite doesn't quite cut it. In fact, here in the United States, we didn't start practicing democracy until 1964 with the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Um, we were ignoring huge parts of our population, um, not allowing women to vote, not allowing blacks to vote. Okay, I just said, that's the majority. Okay, so this was always a minority government, and we've been thinking for a long time that you can have minority governments, and I think that you can't. I think that that's one of the reasons why America's pulling itself apart at the seams right now, because we're trying to do something that is inherently impossible. We're talking about we the people, except those folks over there, they're not part of the people. Um, we can't do that. So we have to have the discipline that says everybody has to be at the table. Everybody has to have an equal voice at the table. But we all have to be pulling in the same direction. This is where repeating over and over the goal of creating a world that works for all so that we can get on the same page with each other. Um, this that so having direction, this is actually becoming funny. It's like when I finally do get this sneezed out, it's like my head may explode. Um, having discipline, having a direction that we're going in, that all beings, all human beings and all other beings can accept. And having devotion. And by devotion, I mean being devoted to the transcendent, being devoted to that which is beyond you and your life. Now, whether you call that God, whether you call that goddess, whether you have a religious bent to it, whether you consider that just universal mind or whatever, I'm not getting into that. And we shouldn't be getting into that. That's where the divisions start coming out. Like, if you don't accept Jesus as your savior, then I don't want to talk to you. The one thing I tell folks, you've got to have a belief that goes beyond you. You've got to see yourself as an integral part of something, not as the only show in town. So with the 3Ds, enlivening your practice with having a practice of inclusivity, a practice of engaging the other, a practice of wisdom relationships, then people are going to come to you. You don't have to go out seeking people to talk to. People are going to come to you. And when they do, you got to have something to say. And you've got to have a community of people. We have to have a community of people who are similarly engaged. Okay, looks like I'm going to make it to the end of the half hour here. So as you know, the book is in the world now. It's going to take a week or two to actually get the books out to you, but this is the time. The other thing is the Course on Power is coming together right now. One of the things I've decided is that I'm going to be doing that on Zoom, not on this StreamYard platform. And Zoom is getting pretty clunky. It's got a whole bunch of bloatware on it now. But the one thing that Zoom does and does a really good job of is allows the interaction between me as a speaker and an audience, and then allows interactions between small groups of the audience. Those two things don't work that well here on the StreamYard program platform, and so it will be Zoom based, unless I can find a better program than Zoom. And since we're going to start this in September, I've got a couple of weeks to be looking around for stuff. So we're putting it together, and I hope to have the information on that out to you in the next week or so. Okay, I am going to go and wring the snot out of my head, and I'm feeling in good spirits, but I am nursing the summer cold. If anybody actually wants some of my cold, I'm willing to send you some of my used tissues, and we can be practicing inclusivity through having a cold. That was called a joke. I will keep all of you away from my my illnesses here, and I look forward to talking to you on Monday. And in the meantime, may all beings be well. May all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. Thank you. Send some anti-cold prayers my way. I will talk to you later. Bye.